Joaquín Salvador Lavado, Quino, is the first cartoonist to receive a Prince of Asturias Award in the Communications and Humanities category. Quino is the father of Mafalda, born from his pen 50 years ago. Quino has glaucoma and so he cannot continue to draw. Nevertheless, questions and reflections about the young Mafalda have lost none of their striking simplicity.
Quino,
welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
What is the significance of the Prince of Asturias Award for you? What are your thoughts on being awarded it?
I'm very happy because it's a prize for which I've always had great respect. It's always been awarded to people whose work I love greatly and for whom I have great respect.
You're the first comic cartoonist to win the award.
And I won't be the last.
Do you think generally cartoonists in the world who are working in the humorous genre are recognized enough?
I think so. I think since Umberto Eco conferred a certain category in this kind of comic literature, things are improving a lot for us.
How do you see the future of comic cartoons?
We're going through a technological transition and for now don't know where it'll lead. It's like the e-book. At the beginning there was the fear that this technology would signal the end for paper, but that hasn't happened, so it's difficult to predict the future.
Would you have used iPads, tablets, Twitter in your drawings today?
Al principio de esta nueva era empecé a hacer algunas cosas tomándole el pelo a toda esta tecnología.
At the beginning of this new era, I began to amuse myself by drawing with all this new technology, using these terms, most of them in English, and that people use without really knowing what they want to say. I think technology will change human relationships. They've already changed quite a lot, but with what is a rather odd handicap, people are linked to thousands of others, but they don't have friends with whom to have a conversation. It's very curious.
Miles de personas y no tiene amigos con quien conversar. Eso es muy curioso.
Hablemos un poquito de Mafalda, que es otro de los motivos.
Let's talk a little about Mafalda, which is one of the reasons for which we're here in Asturias. She's just turned 50, and for several months an exhibition has toured the world. Your humorous vignettes, your thoughts are very important. When you started drawing Mafalda, did you imagine it would be like this?
Importante. ¿Usted se esperaba esto cuando empezó a dibujarla?
No, yo no esperaba nada. Yo empecé a publicar este personaje.
No, I wasn't expecting anything. I started publishing this character with little thought as to who she was. I hadn't worked enough before publishing, but at some point I reflected on the question of how to give the character continuity. So I thought it was a good idea for Mafalda to ask her parents questions which they couldn't answer, like, why is there war? Why are people poor? Why do we destroy the world? I found it was a good way to generate interest in Mafalda.
Que era un buen camino para interesar a la gente en el personaje.
Why does the character of Mafalda not age? Time doesn't seem to affect her. She hasn't aged a day. She has transcended time to become eternal.
No, I think the day when readers will rightly realize that in my drawings there's no new technology, which for me is a big unknown, then that is when this character will not be of our time and interest will be lost in her.
Since Mafalda is still valid, it seems that the world has changed very little in the past 50 years.
Very
little, and it's a great deception on human behavior because it has meant that we continue to make the same mistakes and we haven't progressed except in technology.
Why is the world always in this state?
I think because the economic interests took the place of ideology and political interests. Today there is no ideology, and that's very odd for a generation like mine, the generation of 68, and whose motto was power to the imagination. All this was so beautiful, and now there's nothing left.
One of the
images that we still see as a headline from Mafalda is that she does not like soup. I read that you used the soup as a metaphor of the Argentine dictatorship. What were the experiences for you and your family there, who were forced into exile in Italy?
Bueno, los vivimos como todos los connacionales muy mal.
Well, we lived there very badly, like all our compatriots. Having to leave your country is very scary. You lose contact with your friends, family and people you love. Today, the world is full of migration, so there's no need to explain the significance of what that means.
Hoy el mundo está lleno de migraciones, o sea que no hay que explicarle a nadie lo que eso significa.
How do you see the recent evolution of South America?
I watch, but I can't seem to understand what's happening. Until 5 years ago, I watched with a greater peace of mind. Today, I'm very curious to know what will happen in the future.
And Europe?
Europe intrigues me as much as Latin America.
We shouldn't forget, of course, you go between Buenos Aires and Madrid, and this makes you a privileged spectator.
Europe, which was a cultural beacon for Latin Americans, is currently in a stage where we don't know if the European Union is finished, or if it'll integrate more or disintegrate completely. There are countries who seek independence, which I find very serious. Countries, no, I mean regions, because I believe that in this time of uncertainty we must unite, rather than separate.
Returning to Mafalda's soup. Now, what is Mafalda's soup? Where is the soup of all evil now?
La sopa de Mafalda sería...
Mafalda's soup.
Bueno, en este momento sería...
Today, some of it would be the rise of terrorist groups that the West doesn't know how to handle, because the West has never prepared enough to know other cultures well enough, how to treat them and how to act in relation to them.
How
do you see the world, Quino?
I read the Bible frequently to look for ideas for my cartoons, though I'm not religious, and I never read with a religious spirit. I think not only have countries committed the same mistakes in the last 2 centuries, but that human beings have a tendency to wreck what's working well.
Sino que el ser humano tiene una tendencia a estropear lo que hace bien.
What do you believe in?
In the human mind, even if there are periods in which humanity takes backward steps, such as during Nazism and fascism. Sometimes it succeeds with good things, but then after it has the capacity to spoil everything.
Quino, muchas gracias por acompañarnos.
No, gracias a vosotros.
Y mucha suerte.